In between the lines where nothing is out of bounds, as adversity is an opportunity to overcome. Your host, Savon Williams, got my co-host and brother with me, Joe Hamilton. Joe, how you feeling?
I'm feeling outstanding, Vaughn. I tell you, uh, what better feeling to be an athlete, former athlete, talking with my brother now about sports, life, culture. I'm living the dream, man. I'm living the dream in this type of year or time of year, Christmas, holidays, football, a little bit of basketball. High school national championship I watched last night. That was the first time in my 48 years of living that I've watched a high school national championship, and it was from the state of Georgia. So shout out to Buford, the Buford Wolves, for being or earning the number one team in the nation, man. But I'm doing outstanding, man. How you doing?
Man, I'm blessed as well. Yeah, definitely shout out to Buford and shout out to Carrollton. It was a great game. I said that first half looked like some SEC football. The way them boys
Yeah,
was hitting, both defense was stout. Who else played yesterday? Even before then,
Harper Columbus.
Carver Columbus was a game. Right now,
Yep,
obviously, you got to shout out Hebron Christian just won state. Uh,
yep.
and we right now seeing Sandy Creek right now in Jefferson, which is a tight knit. So everybody is continuing to play. Those that's holding up the trophy, even those that fell short, just a game ahead that's been playing in the dome, Mercedes-Benz Dome. Shout out and salute to you all. Salute to the coaches, and you all definitely deserve to be celebrated.
But you also have to put into it though, Vaughn, that the Buford Wolves now they're national champions.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
next
that
level.
that, that
That's
that's
a
why that's
whole nother.
special. They're national champions in Georgia, your home state, my state I live in now, boasts the number one team in the nation, and that's the highest levels. So
Yeah.
you can go Texas and say nah, nah, no, or California, Louisiana, whatever the big time states, Alabama that you think are growing top athlete as far as football wise. Georgia possesses the number one team in the nation this year in 2025.
And not to mention, that's the third Georgia team that was number one. Because Grayson was number one at first. Then Carrollton beat Grayson. They went number one. And then Buford just beat Carrollton in the championship. Now Buford is number one in the nation. This boy is Mawson. Mawson folks. Oh, he fumbled it, I think. That's crazy. So shout out to Buford. And in between the lines, we look forward to next year as we'll be going to some different schools and taking a look at these campuses and seeing some of these top-notch athletes playing. But speaking of top-notch athletes, we got to get into the show today. We want to discuss Shedeur Sanders versus the Chicago Bears and what exactly took place. Joe, how would you grade Shedeur's performance after? Well, I set the stage first because I just want to talk about the first half. And looking at the first half, I'm gonna put it on the screen here. Shedeur literally, or the Browns literally had one first down in the first half of offense. They had 57 total yards of offense, 37 yards passing in the first half, only 20 yards rushing in the first half, and they was down 14 to nothing. And just to put this in context, that was their best half. That was the offense best half. That just goes to show how bad of a beating this really was. But yeah, Joe, now you can talk about the second half or even rating Shadeur's full game. What do you think?
Well, it's hard for me now because I don't want to take away the team from Shedeur Sanders. I don't want to take the team away from Kevin Stefanski. What you saw against the Chicago Bears, Vaughn, was a mismatch on the sidelines, a mismatch in talent, skill position talent, and as of right now, a mismatch in quarterback. But individually, if you want to say, what's Shedeur Sanders' grade, I would have to say in the C's. I want to give him an F because he's a rookie and bullets are flying out there. He would love to have some throws back. Two of the interceptions he threw were on him. One was on the receiver dropping it in the end zone or giving it away in the end zone. He took a few sacks, fumbles. He fumbled the ball. I don't think they recovered. I don't think he lost the fumble, but everything I'm looking at from Shedeur Sanders now is growing pains. He's growing. It's reps. It's learning reps. It's reps that he can put in his folder and say that I'm gonna come back to this later on. Maybe not this year, but next year. That coverage may have gotten me against the Chicago Bears, but it's not gonna get me in this upcoming game against the Buffalo Bills. Something
Right.
that happened 2 weeks ago, I'm not gonna, as far as errors or checks at the line, I'm not gonna let that get to me going forward. So that's one thing when you evaluate a player, especially a quarterback, you know he's going to make mistakes, Vaughn, but you don't want him to continuously make the same mistake. Yeah, there's 1,000 mistakes to be made as a quarterback. I mean 1,000. But just don't let those same mistakes be, reoccurring. Like Tua Tagovailoa is doing now. You don't want to continue to throw in the cover two. You don't want to continue to run in an 8-man box when you should pick it up and throw it. You don't want to continue to not know the snap count or not know the personnel groupings. So that's what I'm looking for with Shedeur Sanders. And I'm so happy and pleased that he doesn't have to look over his shoulder. So we don't have to worry about are they being playing with them that they're going to stick Dylan Gabriel in, pull Shedeur Sanders out when he throws a pick or he makes a bad decision or he plays a bad game. It's his show for these next 3 games. So he'll have 5 games to show what he's all about. And right now I'm not displeased, but I don't think Cleveland Brown is where they would be at with saying Shedeur is our guy quite yet. And it's hard to evaluate. It's hard to evaluate because Cleveland is such, in my opinion, a bad offensive team. Not a defensive team, but a bad offensive team.
Horrible offensive team. And so, but is it safe to say if in fact Shedeur has another performance like this consecutively? I know you said he doesn't have to worry about looking over his shoulder, but with Kevin Stefanski at the helm and the Cleveland Browns, you never know if he puts up another 3 interception performance. Because at the end of the day, they looking at them end numbers. Not to mention though, Shedeur did have a couple deep balls. I think this Isaiah Bond, he had like two
Thank
or
you.
three deep balls. This was 10 degrees. So for all of our non-athletes that's talking and just looking at the stat sheet, you go out there and catch some balls and throw them balls around in 10-degree weather. It ain't easy.
No, it's not easy at
It's
all.
not easy at all. So with that being said, and like you keep saying, this is only his 4th start, but a bigger issue, and it's an issue to some, maybe the football players like yourself, this not an issue. But let's talk about this wristband brigade, and they saying the first half.
This wristband gate.
Get wristband gate. Yeah, that's what we're gonna call it. Wristband gate. The first half, apparently there was plays on his
First
wristband.
quarter.
On the first quarter. Okay. Well, for our listeners that don't understand, what is on these wristbands anyway? You being a quarterback, you can tell us exactly what are the play calls looking like. How do you prepare going into the game? When somebody is using a wristband or between the offensive coordinator, how is it supposed to go? And what exactly was the issue with Shedeur?
Well, the wristbands normally go to where you're going to have plays that if the headset goes down to where you can't hear the offensive coordinator, you're going to have some scripted plays that you like that you can go to no matter what. That you're going to have personnel plays that matches the personnel grouping, 11 personnel, 12 personnel, 22 personnel as far as wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs who are on the football field, and then you can call a play so you wouldn't get stuck. And then you're going to have some plays that's going to be in the 2-minute drill. That if you want to just lead it and don't want to have to listen and go in a hurry, no huddle, you're going to have those plays. And then if you're in a situation where instead of the guy talking to you in your headset, he'll call out a number, and that number on that wristband is labeled. Say he called number 54. All you have to do is look down the number 54 and read it out to the other 10 guys in the huddle what the play call is. So somewhere down the line, it was a mix-up to where upstairs they said number 43. And when Shedeur Sanders looked down on his wristband, number 43 wasn't quite what they wanted it to be called. Or that when he looked and he called the play that he thought it was something else and it was a miscommunication. Shedeur Sanders is not the only person with a wristband. You have upstairs with the guys calling the plays, they have the wristband as well because they're gonna have to relate to Shedeur what's on his wristband. So where the confusion comes in at, I think that they added to Vaughn. I think it's much to be made about nothing. I think it was one of those situations that it wasn't enough on the wristband, and they wanted to add more, and they wanted to get more clarification to Shedeur Sanders about the wristband.
So, question real quick in regards to that, because I hear many other things. Was it to the point where could that cause confusion or affect Shadeur's play, or do you just give credit to that Chicago Bears defense, the weather, and just saying, hey, he's a rookie, he had a bad game? Because of course, you
Well,
want to put your rookie quarterback in the best position to win. You don't want these type of mishaps, even if it's the first quarter that affects the first half. And I feel like in the second half, Shedeur was more so trying to press the issue, push the ball
play
down the
catch up.
field.
Play catch
Yeah,
up.
he trying to win the game and make plays because last game he was able to do that. But this game is a different team, a better defense, not the same results.
No, think about this, Vaughn. Shedeur Sanders called the play in the huddle. So it wasn't a mix up to where the receiver was doing one thing and the offensive line was doing something else. Whatever play came in, everybody heard that play and everybody tried to execute that particular play. Now, whether it was the play the offensive coordinator wanted or what Shedeur Sanders wanted it to be, that's different. But the bottom line is that Shedeur Sanders did not look good. But I would tell you this: he did not look good in the terms of physically playing well. He still looked good commanding the huddle. He still looked good as far as trying to have pocket awareness, knowing where to try to go with the football, although it was some inaccurate passes. He didn't look overwhelmed. He made some things as far as some athletic plays as far as throwing the ball when he was almost falling down. So he didn't, you know, you didn't trick him. He wasn't out there throwing the ball and he couldn't recognize a quarter half coverage or disguised coverage or some exotic looks that the Bears were trying to throw at him. He was diagnosing all those things that like a quarterback with his fourth start and playing more, he's gonna get acclimated to. So I'm not worried about him, but I would know that these are the games. It's not necessarily the games when you go against the Las Vegas Raiders. It's not the games to where you throw for a lot of passes. It's the real tough games that we're gonna try to evaluate you on. We're gonna evaluate you hard on Chicago Bears. We're gonna evaluate you hard against the Buffalo Bills, which is coming up this week, and we're gonna take it in we're going to take into account the fact that they give you grace that we're not a good team. We're not a good team. So we're going to take into account that Jerry Judy is not getting separation and not getting open. Your tight ends are not being where they need to be. An offensive line that's just piecemeal together. So we're going to do that. We're going to take into account, but we're going to also evaluate you and critique you in your every rep going forward. This is not about wins and losses anymore, Vaughn. This is not about did Shedeur Sanders win this week or did Shedeur Sanders lead those guys to a so and so type record. This is all about an individual. Can you handle the vigorous big body blitz of the NFL? Can you handle the come maybe the first one in, last one out, the leadership? Everything on Shedeur Sanders is being evaluated now as far as the Cleveland Browns going into the future. And I'll tell you this little piece of nugget as well.
All right, baby.
Kevin Stefanski. He's getting evaluated the same way. If this keeps up, I don't think he's going to be around Cleveland next year.
Oh, no. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you saying your coach of the year, two-time coach of the year?
It's not mine. That's facts, Vaughn. It's not my. It's
No,
not my
no,
coach.
no, no,
It's
no.
facts.
We
It's
gonna hold
facts.
you to the fire because you was
Of
trying
what?
you
Of what?
you was trying to tell me you was trying to tell me that Kevin Stefanski was a good coach because he had
Yes.
2 times coach of the year. It solidified
Yes.
him as a good coach.
I'm glad you brought that up, Vaughn, because that's exactly what I said. I said Kevin Stefanski was a good coach. And he was.
You stand by
He's not now. He's
Yeah.
not now.
All right.
Was. I said Kevin Stefanski was a good coach. That's why he won, or that's how he won 2 coaches of the year. But now he's not, Vaughn. There's no doubt. I'm not bumming for him that he didn't do anything right this year as far as starting off with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. And you were taking reps away from, even if you want to throw Dylan Gabriel, you were taking reps away from Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders to give to Kenny Pickett. Come on, man. Come on, that's malpractice as far as a coach preparing his two rookies. So, Shedeur Sanders, you're on deck, buddy. And there, when you look back at it, if you blame Kevin Stefanski, that's your ego. I'm talking about the last few games for Shedeur, whether he's a good coach or not, and whether Cleveland offense sucked. But Shedeur would have opportunities, and he would have at that point a lot of reps to be able to say, evaluate me. Hopefully, that's enough for him to, be trade bait or be named one of those starters or compete for the starting job where he's at in Cleveland.
Well, the next topic we want to get into, because there is a shuffle going on in the quarterback position. One of the very ones. Shout out to Nadia, the Beyonce of real estate. She tapped in for a second with us.
What's up, Nadia?
But I want to say Tua right now, currently being benched. And so we got another rookie quarterback that's going to be starting in what's his name? Ewers, coming from Texas.
Quentin Ewers, yes.
Quentin Ewers, coming from the University of Texas. What's your thoughts on Tua now taking a seat?
Vaughn, I'm gonna read you some stats, man. Tua Tagovailoa, man, he doesn't have terrible stats. He doesn't. He doesn't have terrible stats. He didn't have terrible stats last game. He was 22 of 28. That's efficient. 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. 113.2 rating. You would say that's pretty good.
I would.
Vaughn, he had 65 yards in 3 quarters. From the quarter number 1, quarter number 2, quarter number 3, he had only 65 yards passing. So he did all that in mop-up duty. He puts the ball in harm's way. He's making the same mistakes throwing it to guys that's covered. All 15 of his interceptions has come with the zone defense. So he's not reading zone. He's not able to be as accurate because nobody's on the move in man-to-man where you are Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle where you can run away from guys. So he's washed up. And I will give him the benefit of the doubt as far as going through concussions and being a little gun shy. But that's what I see. I see a guy that's a little timid in the pocket. I see a guy that doesn't have good arm strength, especially when the weather is under 40 degrees. And dare I say, Tua's played his last game at the Miami Dolphins, no doubt about it, being benched. And he went from first to third string. And if you're not going to play the last 3 games, who's going to pick your contract up? He's due. He's owed. If you trade him or cut him, he's owed $99 million. He's making $54 million a year, Vaughn. So to make this move to that guy, you got to imagine how bad he is playing. Or do you think that he is a detriment to your team as far as winning? And this is the Tua Tagovailoa that early in the season called out his guys for not being a team called a players-only meeting. This is the guy that was kind of pointing fingers. And when you start to point fingers like that, Vaughn, they're going to start watching you a little bit more closely about, are you doing your job? Are you doing what you need to be doing? Because you sure are playing peekaboo and searching the other guy's closet. So who would pick up Tua Tagovailoa? I don't think anybody's going to pick him up for a starting quarterback. And why would you have faith that he can be a backup and come in and help your team? Because his skill set is eroding. His skill set is eroding.
Well, I want to ask a few things, but first I want to speak on Tua. We seen the entire everybody seen nationally. Tua's been a victim of some violent attacks.
Violent.
We ain't even gonna say some violent attacks.
Absolutely,
Tua's
yes.
been hit hard. Does that affect his play? He might be seeing blurry out there. Who knows? But his leadership has been in question. Furthermore, this season, his leadership has been in question. Yeah. I never thought that I think Tua used to say all the right things, similar to Russell Wilson. I never thought that Tua was great, had great stats. I think, he had some good weapons behind him at his best when he got Tua out there running around, and you got Waddle. He had some good weapons, some good running backs, some speedsters out there. But you take them away, you still find a way to win games because Miami was stinking it up early, and then they was continuing to win. But the
That's right.
leadership, he didn't have a locker room. I think he lost the locker room early on in the season,
That's right.
and I think at this point they say we'll rather lose. We'll rather lose without you, or lose with you than play and have a possibility of winning. Because he's not making that much of a difference. Like you just named the set, 63 yards. It's like
No.
anybody can do that. And if you a franchise player and owe 99 million, that's when you get that praise to the good Lord, because regardless, he gonna be paid whether they cut him, whether they trade him. And I was just thinking when you was like, well, this is his last game. I'm like, did he just re-sign a contract
Yeah.
less than two
Yeah.
years ago?
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. And that goes to show even more, Vaughn, how bad he's playing. To know the consequences of sitting him down, and to know what it's going to cost you if you have to have him on the bench, and how you're going to have to answer to your ownership group to say that we are invested 99 million, 54 million this year to a guy that's sitting down, and a guy that when you look at that picture you just posted, you see that C that has a C on his chest. That means he came into the season as the captain of this team, and that leadership as a captain is not showing. It's not showing, and now it's coming back to where the guys, like you said, Vaughn, and you said so eloquently, the guys are not listening to him. The guys have tuned him out. Ever since you called the guys on the carpet and you did not say us and we, and you pointed the finger at them, and those guys are doing that. That's when things started to be in question about, are you our guy? And going forward in the future, what skill set can you bank on Tua Tagovailoa having? All right, so but now I will go and say this: Mike McDaniel is not excused, not from what Tua's done, but if you're going to go all the way to Quinn Ewers, you're going to have to prove to me and Vaughn that Tua was the problem. You're gonna have to prove that your offense is still creative enough. Your offense can still do some things to where, let me show you how I can call plays. Let me show you how I can draw it up in the dirt, and that Tua wasn't executing my offense and making me look bad. So I hate to say it, I don't want it for it because I like Tua. He's an accurate quarterback, like him out of Alabama. But now, with the speed of the game moving, and he's being short in stature a little bit and very fragile, I don't know how long he has in the NFL as a starting quarterback.
Well, rightfully so. And, we talked about a rookie. We talked about a new rookie taking over the regime in Miami. But now we want to discuss Grandpa coming back in Indianapolis. We want to discuss the Phillip Rivers, the gunslinger. He made his way back. And his final statistics against the Seattle Seahawks was 18 of 27, 120 yards, one touchdown. He did finish with one interception on the last drive. However, Joe, what do you think about this gutsy Phillip Rivers performance? And is he 45 yet, or is he 44? About to be 45.
Yeah, he's about to be 45. Vaughn, right before I talk about Phillip Rivers and what I feel about his gutsy performance, look at that wristband he has on in that picture you're showing, and that's at least about 75 plays. That is at least about 75 plays on there. You go to certain sections and you're able to look at it. And when the offensive coordinator calls out a personnel grouping or a number, you're able to look on that wristband, or a 2-minute drill or a no huddle situation, look on that wristband and be able to get those guys in and out of the huddle without the coach and be able to move fast. But Phillip Rivers, I love it. I love the gutsiness of it. I love the fact that he showed us, everybody who looks at football players, and say, no fear. We're going to go out there, we're going to empty the tank, and whatever happens, happen. Because you can think about at 44 years of age that a lot of people would have doubt. Can I still do it? I don't want to go out there and be embarrassed. I don't want to go out there and be a shell of my old self back in 2020 when I last played. I don't want to look like this was a terrible decision. I kind of want to make Indianapolis look a little bit good to say they went and got a 45-year-old as opposed to some young gun and trying those guys out. Or a healthy Riley Leonard, the rookie from Notre Dame that they could have gone with. But they chose Phillip Rivers, and what it said that Phillip Rivers was sharp. He stayed in the game, obviously by coaching his sons high school football team and leading them and running the same exact offense that Indianapolis ran. So for the kids, his players that he's coaching, to have them be on Sports Center, to have them the Sports Center show them watching Philip Rivers' game, to have the guy that committed, the wide receiver that committed to South Alabama, to have him on Sports Center interviewing him. That's what it's all about with Philip Rivers. His offensive line allowing him or only allowing him to get touched 4 times, and I think sacked 1 time. His heroic from that offensive line, so to speak. With all those good things being said, Vaughn, he can't lead your team to a win. He can't because he can't push the ball downfield. He can't push the ball downfield, and he's not susceptible to uh, blitzes and squat coverage. That arm is not what it used to be. Although he never had a cannon for an arm, he was very accurate. And he got the ball out of his hands pretty quick. But I don't think he can lead, as you can see by the yards per attempt. He was known as being a check down guy or slants and drag routes to be able to make sure he's not in the pocket that long. So San Francisco, although their pass game is susceptible, will they be able to get after Philip Rivers? You can run on the Indianapolis coast. And what I love about Philip Rivers, he's been in the fire. He knows the game, so his mind is still intact. And his best friends are going to have to come up and show up for him. And those best friends are a nice tight end, a really good tight end. They have that in Ty Warren, and a really good running back. Those two other quarterbacks' best friend, a running game and a tight end that can show your vision as soon as the ball is snapped. So I'm going to give all the kudos in the world to Philip Rivers for staying sharp and being ready to rumble and answering the call for a friend as Shane Steichen when he called him and said, I need your help. But for Indianapolis going forward and trying to make the playoff and having a big game coming up at 8-5, I don't think Philip Rivers can do that. He's not the quarterback that can say, get on my back, let me lead you to victory. He's a quarterback that needs a good running game and a dynamic tight end. And I will say this to you, Vaughn, though. He will be better next week. This Monday night against San Fran. Why? Because he's in the building now. He came off the street the first week, right. So now you got a whole entire week to be in the film room, get chemistry with your wide receivers, watch film with the offensive coordinator, watch film with your guys, your offensive line. You get massages, get rehab, get treatment because you know he's sore as all outdoors. So get all those things that he's in the building. I think you're going to see a much better Philip Rivers, but I still don't think that's going to be enough to carry the Indianapolis Colts on his shoulders.
Well, let's shuffle over to we still talking about quarterbacks here. And the Heisman was just named. Shout out to Fernando Mendoza winning the Heisman. And we hate to glorify a little negativity, but Vanderbilt quarterback, Joe gonna give us his name.
Yeah, Diego Pavia.
Diego Pavia posted this shortly thereafter. F all the voters, but family for life. Now, I will conclude he did go ahead and make a statement, as you can see here, simply saying, being a part of the Heisman ceremony last night as a finalist was such an honor. As a competitor, just like in everything I do, I wanted to win. To be so close to my dream and come up short was painful. I didn't handle those emotions well at all and did not represent myself the way I wanted to. I have much love and respect for the Heisman voters and the selection process, and I apologize for being disrespectful. It was a mistake, and I am sorry. Fernando Mendoza is an elite competitor and a deserving winner of the award. I have nothing but respect for his accomplishments as well as the success that Jeremiah and Julian had this season. I've been doubted my whole life. Every step of my journey, I've had to break down doors and fight for myself because I learned that nothing would be handed to me. My family has always been in my corner, and my teammates, coaches, and staff have my six. I love them. I am grateful for them, and I wouldn't want anything to distract from that. I look forward to competing in front of my family and with my team one more time in the Realta Quest Bowl. All right, Joe. Are you giving Diego a pass for saying F the voters?
No, I'm not giving him a pass, Vaughn, but I accept his apology. I mean, his apology goes a long way because he did make a mistake. If he's acknowledging it, yes. But I have to give him a pass if he's saying, he's sorry. But Vaughn, those guys, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, about eight of those around him, his so-called friends, I'm not blaming those guys. Hear me clearly and don't get me confused. But where were those guys when they can say, don't press sin? I mean, I know they didn't tell you to do it. I know they didn't see you do it, Diego. But somebody should have said this is not a good look. I mean, as soon as you posted that, somebody right around, as soon as they clicked to their phones, would say, or had to say, or needed to say, take that down right away. Because what Diego Pavia messed up or he missed is that he should have been thanking the voters. Because, Haynes King got votes, but he was 10th. Jeremiah Smith got votes, Reed, the quarterback from Texas A&M, he got votes, but they weren't a part of the top four. So they weren't accepted or they weren't invited to New York. So because of the voters, you had to experience. You got to experience something that you would not have got to experience if the voters didn't vote you top four in the country. Also, why not thank those guys? Although you fell a little bit short, you were there, placed in that room among all the Heisman greats, and being able to witness a ceremony and events that you never would have witnessed if it wasn't for the voters. So that's where I think he really, really messed up, thinking that it was just between him and Fernando Mendoza, and the voters didn't respect him. No, it's the flip side. The voters respected you, and that's why you were invited to New York. So when it goes and you look at it, it's going to be a notch on his belt. And when the NFL comes calling, all those things are going to go into account. He's going to apologize, and where they would focus on something else, that's going to be one of the first, or maybe a top five question that those scouts going to have for Diego Pavier. Hey, what do you mean? Do you have a relationship with others? How do you get along with others? Are you easily in your feelings? Are you easily taken out of your element? Because that's what it was. He was taken out of his element to make a statement like that. And immediately they're going to say, was he drinking? Was he partying? Was he in his right mind to go that loose as far as to say that F the voters that voted you to be one of the finalists to be in New York? It just doesn't make sense, but I do accept his apology.
Well, you can accept it. I'm gonna give it to you straight. For one, Diego, if you was that light years above everybody else, you would have won. It would have been everybody would feel the same way you felt. That wasn't the case. Joe,
No.
you asked, in the picture right here, you state, however many of his friends, somebody can easily, you can easily have your phone and shoot a tweet out or shoot a post out and they not know about it. So I'm putting the responsibility on him as a grown man to
Okay.
understand that it's not the friends and nobody else's fault. You felt this way, just put the phone down. And this is a message to all the young athletes, to all our young entertainers, to all our youthful ones that it used to be a rule where, hey, if you feel the same way in 48 hours, then let it rip. Maybe you set up a whole
Yeah.
you set up a whole conference, a news conference, or do an interview, whatever the case is. But you gotta put the phone down. We got instant access now to shoot out any message, and we just acting so emotional. I'm glad you spoke of the NFL because that's the first thing that I thought. Not only was your stats not that impressive, I mean it was good to get you get you there in the Heisman finalists, but it wasn't Johnny Manziel. It wasn't comparing to all the other Heisman winners or even the other Heisman finalists. I just thought it was a bit arrogant, and I said, "Oh, his stock dropping like hell." That's all I thought when I
Well,
seen it.
well, well. Stop dropping, Vaughn. That's a fair point because again, he's already short in stature.
I should
He's not a
agree.
can't miss physical athlete where you say check all the boxes, 6'5", 220, but a cannon arm. No, he's more of one of those ad libbers. He's one of those guys that's going to make something out of nothing and splash plays. And whoa, did you see that? But how consistent is he? But I tell you, Vaughn, 4,000 total yards, 36 total touchdowns. Um, That's pretty solid. But you're absolutely right what you said. Absolutely no doubt about it. And the only reason I brought up his peers, the guys around him, because you can know how the hype train goes. They probably was all together and saying, "Yeah, man, you should have won. You should have won. Man, those voters, man, f those voters." And that was encouraging somewhat to say, "Yeah, you're right. Let me post that." Not to say they egged them on, but
Yeah.
those guys, it could have been a section where those guys was like, "Hey, man, you got done wrong or you got mistreated," and that's not the case. So I'm not. You're absolutely right. They're not. There's no blame should go to his friends. He's a grown man. He's the guy with a future at stake in the NFL or trying to impress scouts, not those friends of his. So
Only
you're absolutely
I'm
right.
only gonna come back on him. The friends, and rightfully so, the friends should be mad. It's been situations in the past, whether it be in regards to you when you was playing, or even watching Skylar, where yeah, I'm ticked off about something. However, I would never encourage, oh, you should say this, or oh, you should do this. But at the same time, that's why I said you still gotta be accountable. And as being a
Yeah,
leader, when we talk about quarterbacks being a leader, that's not the look you want to give to tell everybody. You saying F the folks that even voted for you. Like it's
right.
just not. It's not. It wasn't smart. You know,
Right.
he emotional. But I think at some point we gotta stop. A lot of times um, we get in the benefit of the doubt. We say they're young, they make mistakes. These young athletes is getting paid. These young athletes know what's at stake. Your team ain't in the college football playoff. It ain't like you going. We might not even watch this real Quest Bowl, whatever you called it. We ain't nobody watching that. Vanderbilt
Right.
will, but this probably might be the last thing we remember you as, unless you put up some crazy numbers. And I wish him well in the bowl
No.
game. But come on, Diego, you got to do better than that because, again, he wasn't that far ahead to have that
No
attitude.
way.
He
No
was
way.
never head and shoulders
No
above
way.
Fernando Mendoza or Jeremiah Love or Julian saying to just feel like it's a lock. He should have been the winner and feel like he
No.
was cheated. So
No.
yeah,
He
we'll
believed his own hype.
yeah, and that he drinking his own damn Kool Aid. He needs to
Yes,
change it
that's
up.
it.
You get
Yeah.
diabetes from too much Kool Aid. It's time to change it up. Now, moving right along, we're gonna go to the NBA because we got a lot of NBA listeners. And we ain't talked about too much NBA this season yet, but we gotta discuss the cup that just took place. It was just yesterday. We had New York, Carl Anthony Towns, and the big Wimbyana of a San Antonio Spurs. Joe gonna give us more of a recap in regards to what took place pertaining the game. I know who won, but Joe, tell us what exactly happened in regards to the Knicks versus the Spurs in the NBA Cup.
Well, December 16th, you wouldn't think that you would have a heavyweight fight like you had last night. It was a heavyweight fight. San Antonio Spurs in a heavyweight fight? Yep. Victor Wembanyama, the Rookie of the Year, Stephon Castle from last year, De'Aaron Fox, the point guard that came from the Kings last year. That's a really, really good team when you say the San Antonio Spurs, and then Victor Wembanyama, he's scheduled or he's going to be the Defensive Player of the Year. Eventually, it's going to be his league. He wants to take over. He wants to be the face of the franchise. And then you got an up and coming Knick team that just knocked on the door of the Eastern Conference Final last year, and they got a new coach in Mike Brown. And that NBA Cup, Vaughn, I will say that I don't get it. Anybody that does not like the NBA Cup mid-season, I would just ask, what's your beef? If you're an NBA fan, what is your beef? It's basketball, and the players are playing lights out. They're getting cherries on their knees. They're diving for loose balls. They're playing for the winner who gets $500,000, and the loser gets $230,000. So for the gentleman or the players that's down on the bench that doesn't contribute as much, that change that pocket that pocket change to some is a lot to others. So shout out to again the New York Knicks last year and last night, excuse me, coming back from 14 down in Vegas to where the finals is playing to beat the San Antonio Spurs and really really rejoicing about it. That is not the NBA championship. Nobody is saying that. But what it is a championship to have a measuring stick that how good we are playing. Are we coming together? Are we gelling? So I love it. I love everything about it because I caught myself last night on a Tuesday night watching national championship high school football, switching back and forth to the NBA Cup mid-season, knowing that guys are going to get better in the NBA, knowing that it doesn't really mean that much, that you're not guaranteed to win a title just because you won the NBA Cup, because the last two winners of the NBA Cup, it's only the third year, but the first year was the Los Angeles Lakers. They got ousted in the first round. Last year was the Milwaukee Bucks. They got ousted in the first round. So it really doesn't mean anything as far as the end of the season. But it was good TV, good television, highly competitive between the San Antonio Spurs and the New York Knicks. Big Body Brunson, Carl Anthony Towns, uh, Anunoby, Mikal Bridges. That was some high level basketball played with a high level, very few turnovers. So it was fun to watch. Very fun to watch.
Well, I want to ask my Knick fans because I know we got some listeners that are heavy in New York and all things New York Knicks. Is this a sign of things to come? Do you think this is the year the Knicks break the curse and they actually go into the finals? You went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Tibbs is out. Y'all tried to put a lot of the blame on Tibbs. Now
Mm-hmm.
Mike Brown, you got an NBA Cup, mid-season cup. You got legends like Shaq and Charles Barkley to say, hey, you don't get no banners for that.
Right.
However, this is a step in the right direction. Is this? Would you say, Joe? This is what's to come. Is the Knicks going to be one of the favorites going to the finals, moving with this momentum now that they just won the NBA Cup?
Yes, especially coming off the East. Some teams, it go through stages. Matter of fact, last year showed you that you go through stages in OKC Thunder. They just didn't come up on the scene. They gradually got there and had defeat and faced adversity against the Denver Nuggets and had to climb up and face adversity and learn from the experiences. Last year, what about that experience that New York Knicks got? Now they're they started off crawling and now they're walking a little bit. When are they going to start jogging? Well, they started jogging last night with the NBA Cup. Now it's a fight for the sprint. And let's be clear: are you going to give Mike Brown a break? Are you going to give him the benefit of the doubt to be the first year taking over this team? Or are you expecting a championship in the first year? So those New York Knickerbocker fans now, they're the real deal. They probably want championship or bust. But I think that's a huge, huge step just to make sure that you're headed in the right direction. And that's a good team, well orchestrated. The roster's put together the right way with Josh Hart and those guys maybe coming off the bench some games. He starts some games. You got Mitchell Robinson protecting the rim and rebounding.
Rebounding, yeah.
Carl Anthony Towns doing his dance. So that's a good orchestrated team. And when you look at the East, the biggest threat in the East is a very, very formidable but young team in the Detroit Pistons. The Boston Celtics, is Jason Tatum going to come back later on in the season and bring health? Because Jason Brown and Derek White, those guys are being surprisingly keeping Boston afloat. What about the Cavs and Donovan Mitchell? So the East, when you think about it on paper, the 76ers, Joel Embiid and Paul George and Maxey.
Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah. So the East is for the taking. There's no standout runaway team, but the New York Knicks fans, they should feel very optimistic of what they accomplished last night going forward.
Well, that's all we got for this episode.
I love it.
We gonna spoke a little bit about the quarterback shuffle. We gonna spoke about what's going on, what drama elated in the Heisman race, and lastly, we spoke in regards to the NBA World Cup. And shout out to the Knicks for taking the cup over San Antonio Spurs. This is In Between the Lines. Y'all make sure to like, follow, and subscribe our YouTube channel. Comment your thoughts below on any of the topics that we discussed, and we look forward to seeing you next time. All is well. Peace.